The first time they invited me, they guaranteed that my life would change. And I said the following: if I go there and nothing happens, I'm going to attack those pastors. But before that, a lot of things happened. Ever since I was in my mother's womb, I suffered rejection. Yeah, my father, he said that I wasn't his son, that I was the neighbor's son. I remember an episode where my mother didn't have anything to give me to eat, and she went to ask my father for some help. And he simply turned to her and said to give me bean broth because he wouldn't help, he didn't care. I remember it like it was today that at 11 years old, I committed my first robbery. Yeah. And at 12, I started using marijuana, drinking. And then I spent a long time in the world of addiction. And that was one of my rock bottoms. At 14 years old, I started working because there was a need. It was a lot of misery, a lot of poverty. Yeah, I started to study a lot, but in parallel, the addiction continued. It was very sad when I managed to buy a car. And at 18, I got my license and managed to buy this car. But I left a party very drunk and I totaled that car. With this fear, with this rejection that I always had from my family, I sought it out. I studied. I did an MBA in logistics. I did an MBA in foreign trade. I specialized there. I did a postgraduate degree in controlling, in business auditing. I have around 27 diplomas. I always tried to study, but this life I was leading never had an end, a peace. Sometimes I thought about taking my life, and that sometimes things wouldn't be making sense. And with what I was achieving, I was becoming more attached to material goods. I always thought that money, car, and house were everything in this world. I also remember that then I went through an episode that was very sad for me because I arrived home very drunk, very high on drugs, and my mother was bedridden, and my family turned to me and said, "You're going to kill your mother." And at that moment, out of my mind, just said, let her die. I don't have any problem with that. I'm thinking about myself, I'm thinking about my life, and I don't care about that. And there, I, in fact, looked at myself and thought, what do I have to do to have peace? And then I reached a point where, in fact, I had already achieved my professional goals, academic goals, and I didn't lack for anything. But I used a lot of drugs, I lost myself, and I even had a nickname which was Monster because I would transform. And I had a lot of prejudice against the Universal Church. I thought that here it was manipulated, that everything that happened here was paid for. And then my aunt, seeing my situation, she invited me. She invited me to accompany her to a meeting. I remember it like it was today, that I came. I had at that time a very old little car, right? But I still came with that prejudice. I came getting tickets because the car's headlights were, some were broken, and I arrived here very angry. I had it inside me that if nothing happened, I was going to attack the pastors. I was going to attack the bishops because I was in that situation, in that withdrawal, all because of the addiction too, and like with no way out. I sat in the back, and right there, in the first prayer, I already felt a relief. It felt like a ton had already been lifted off my back. I started, in fact, to attend the services. I started to put into practice everything that the pastors and bishops said at the altar. Things started to happen that, in fact, I understood that here was different, that the universal church, it wasn't anything like what I thought. I realized that my inner self, the desire from addictions, I didn't have them anymore. And then something very striking happened. I was near someone and they were drinking and smoking, and then I looked and I felt disgusted by that. Right. Then I realized that I was set free and cured of addictions. I went on Sunday. They invited me to a service. And it was funny because it was Bishop Macedo who was leading the meeting. I remember as if it were today that the bishop said, Isaiah 41:9. The Lord has chosen your servant, and he has never rejected you. And that word changed my life. God spoke to me that even if my father, even if my mother, even if my relatives, my acquaintances rejected me, he didn't reject me. He was there. He was always with me. He was always in all the episodes I went through, all the rock bottoms I had. God was looking out for me. God, he never rejected me. And then it was very funny because I was always attached to material things. And then the Bishop Macedo, spoke about the treasure, right? Hidden. And I found that treasure. And I realized that nothing in fact had more importance in my life. So I started looking for this treasure. It was this treasure that changed my life. This treasure that in fact transformed me. And then I exchanged everything that I actually thought was important. So that career, that human knowledge, for the knowledge of God. I left behind that who only thought about material goods, only thought about winning. I gave it that. And to me, it didn't make sense anymore. I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to tell people what was inside me. That strength, in fact, that fearlessness that I never had, I wanted to show people. So I wanted to say that I had the treasure inside of me. I had the Holy Spirit inside of me. So that Sunday was very important to me. My family, my mother already saw me as a person who helped around the house, who, in fact, took on the role of a man, took on the role of the provider of the house, and also of being responsible. So it was a lot of happiness for my family. And God put my love life never worked out with anyone. And God gifted me with my wife. And then I saw how much God, He had me as a servant. That word, Isaiah 41:9, wouldn't leave my head because, in fact, He hadn't rejected me. We live in peace. Today we have some properties. Today I live with a full belly. Today I eat what I want. I wear what I want. And this is all for the glory of God. From a monster, right? Back then to today, peace with love for others. And with a structured and successful family, but with that which cannot be missing, which is the Spirit of God, which is the Holy Spirit. And He is my greatest treasure.